What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Geoguessr Explained. I am Oscar, and today we're playing some more play along challenge links. You can find them in the description. Now, for tomorrow's games, or next time's games, I'm going to include a map called Extreme Region Guessing, which only has the 7 biggest countries in Geoguessr, so all the way down to Mexico. So keep that in mind as you're playing, and let's get into today's games as we play Diverse World, which you should play in the description if you haven't already. But okay, first one here, I can tell the country not only based on the flag here, but just based on this number plate. When you have like kind of Eastern Europe vibes with with blue on both sides of the plate, that pretty much has to be Albania. The only other countries where you'd see blue on both sides of the plate are Italy and France. Italy would have a short plate here, and France wouldn't look like this. Now, here's the other great way to tell Albania apart from other countries. So Turkey and Albania are the two main countries in Europe, or the Europe region, where you'll see these water tanks and solar panels on the top of the roofs. Basically, every roof will have one. If I'm in a tough situation and I can't see one, I look for the water tank, and that is a great way to tell that you're in either of those countries. And then, of course, the number plate will distinguish the other ones. Now, there's a lot of Generation 3 in Albania. It's only Generation 3, and also there's quite a lot of this overcast coverage, so that all makes sense. We're in a fairly flat region here, so somewhere nearer to the coast here. Could be Tirana area, could be like near Vlore. That's pretty much the main regions. I'll go for Tirana, and it was kind of halfway between the two cities there, so a good start to the seed. Okay, next one here. We're going to be somewhere in a right-hand driving country, given the fact that we have the stop sign on the right-hand side of the road here. We have this white Google car with the window showing here, or at least like part of the black rack showing here. We also have another signpost set up for right-hand drive, fairly green fields here, a few eucalyptus trees as well here, so they're from Australia, but given that we're driving right-hand side of the road, we know we're not there. We have the sun here to the north, roughly speaking. I mean, it is kind of hard to see, but you can definitely see the sun shining through these leaves here, so that would make sense for some kind of southern hemisphere country, given the sun's north. Okay, so then, we've also got quite a few hills here. It's not like a particularly flat country, so I would say that we're going to be somewhere in Chile here, and when you see these eucalyptus trees in Chile, it's often near Concepcion, so that's my kind of region guess here. So why is it Chile? Well, we have this like round speed sign, which is quite common in South America. We have this white Google car, which you could see all in most South American countries. However, when you have this black bit showing, that really makes Chile the most likely. That's how they set up the camera there, really makes it most likely. We also have this like flat signpost here. Now, you can't really tell at this angle, but it's a bit wider than normal, so you can kind of tell it's flat for that reason. And yeah, that's definitely something you see in Chile. These wooden posts for like fields are very like South American, and given that they're so neat, would feel like Chile, which is one of the richer countries. Then also dirt road coverage is quite common in Chile as well, and we have brown dirt rather than that iconic like Brazilian red dirt as well. Even though it does appear a bit red here, it's mostly brown when we can see it in the light. So all that adds up to Chile here. Now, this could be a bit further south than where I clicked, but I think it's going to be in that Concepcion region, realistically, with this many eucalyptus trees. Like, we can see a whole bunch right here. So let's see. And it was indeed a little bit further south there. That's probably as far south as you'd see so many eucalyptus trees, I think. Getting a bit unlucky there. Most times you would be near Concepcion. And indeed, Concepcion actually has quite a few pine trees as well, particularly. So maybe I was actually wrong. Maybe it's more pine trees that you need to look out for instead. Okay, let's head through to the next round here. We got obvious car meta here. Let's take a look around at everything else first. So we're driving what appears to be, we can't actually tell what side of the road we're driving on here. We may be able to see that there's a driver there, but again, or like a steering wheel there, but that's kind of too speculative. So let's take a look around. Okay, this is very typical architecture for the country we're in. So pay attention to this, and if you can't think of the country, like cast your mind back to previous rounds you may have had. Because this kind of huge house with tons of rooms and these like really tall roofs, I would say, like really big roofs, is very common in Nigeria, very uncommon elsewhere. We also have one of these like Brazilian style waffle poles here. They're also really common in Nigeria as well. And yeah, here we have the Nigerian follow car to police car. This one you'll see in most of Generation 4 coverage, so yeah, it's not really that special. And we have lots of these big sloping roofs over here, so lock this image into your mind. This is the typical Nigerian like architecture that you get, particularly around the capital city. Now we have this big white Google car here. Big white Google car is very common in the east of Nigeria. I don't really think you see it around Lagos at all. I'm not sure if it goes all the way to Abuja. Now this landscape kind of looks a bit like this, like architecture feels quite Abuja, or at least it feels quite Eastern Nigerian to me. I don't think you see so many of these houses in Lagos. I'm thinking of just trying a Nugu here, or Gaboko, because they are a bit greener than Abuja. This is very green, and also they probably have more of that architecture as well, in my opinion, and the white car is more common out in the east of the country. I'm not sure if it actually goes to Lagos, to Abuja, so we'll find out. I think I would go for a Nugu here. A Nugu is relatively flat, I guess, though, and this does have some hills, nevertheless. I think they, we should see some hills west here. Do we see such hills? Doesn't really seem like we do. What about Goboko? Also seems relatively flat in the vicinity, so yeah, may just be actually Abuja here, but I'll stick with the Nugu here and check. And it was actually an Nugu, very nice. Yeah, it kind of had more of a green vibe than you'd expect to see most times in Abuja, so that makes sense. And hey, we got another nice score here, so that's really good. But yeah, just remember that architecture, remember those poles, and you should be golden. Okay, next one here, we have like a pretty nice road here, lots of patches on it of dirt though. Yellow outer lines here with a white solid inner line. So yellow outer lines, we're thinking of Middle East or South Africa here, and with these like kind of constant wooden poles, like this double wooden pole for example, and these lots of like low green bushes, we're definitely thinking of Southern Africa here. Now Lesotho and Eswatini would probably always have at least one mountain visible, and this is dead flat, so now we're thinking of South Africa and Botswana. We have quite a bit of like white sand here on the side of the road, and it's very like there are no trees in sight, or like very few trees in sight. It's mostly bushes, so definitely leaning Botswana for that reason here. I also think that kind of white sand trail here is very Botswanan as well. So yeah, I think that's what I'll go for here. Botswana often has like a yellow and black painted signpost. This occasion we don't have one. Nevertheless, I still think Botswana is the call here. So the question is, where are we going? I think in Botswana, even though I'm not a big road angle checker, I think to get a good region guess in Botswana, it's good to check the angle of the road. We're going directly east to west here. So I would like the two major zones of east to west are like down here on these two roads and up here on these two roads. So I think either of those makes pretty much good sense here. We also have this whole coverage in the west being a bit more wintry. It's going to be a bit colder looking, and a lot of the trees will be lacking their leaves, so that's a good way to get kind of the west half of the country. The north half of the country will be very sandy, and normally northwest even will be quite sandy, and on this occasion we don't see too much sand. It's more rocky in the soil, so guessing further east here, either here or here. And this feels like very rural to me in a way that makes me want to go a bit further north here. Like, it doesn't feel like there's any civilization nearby, and there are very few like towns around here. So yeah, I guess like the road is kind of bending slightly here in a way that makes me, I don't really know where this is, but it makes me feel decent about this kind of area. Could it be up here even? Yeah, they're very, like, this road bends a lot, so I kind of like this actually best. You do get some like autumn coverage in this kind of region as well, and a bit of winterish stuff as well, but I feel like it's good. I feel like this is the correct place. Let's see. And it was actually the southern one instead, so it's unfortunate. Pretty much had to be one of these two roads or one of these two roads, and we picked the wrong one here. Maybe the kind of rockiness, like a whole bunch of small rocks on the side of the road, might be something I'll remember for next time. And maybe this road actually feels a bit different. Different like coverage time of the year. I'm not a Botswana expert, but I would like to get very good at Botswana at some point. Next one here, Penny. Language speaking is pretty obvious here, so let's just take a look at everything else we get. So we've got a single white line. I feel like if we were going to be somewhere in Poland, now I guess it could still be Poland, but I think in Poland they'd normally use a double white line in the center instead of a single white line, so I don't think it's Poland necessarily. And then we have the O with the two dots, which, I mean, you shouldn't see in too many languages. Like, I think Sweden has it, yes, Sweden has it, Germany has it, and Hungary is another one of those countries. Given that we're speaking like kind of a different style of language here, definitely consider Hungary when you see that O with the umlaut thing. It also says ut at the end of here, which is short for Utsa here, and Utsa is different to a lot of the other Eastern European countries where they'd say Ulitsa with a I So if it's just Utsa, then Hungary works. So just have to remember that it's more plain. Then we also have a holy pole here. And yeah, this is pretty standard stuff for Hungary, I would say. So where to go here? I think like finding a sign with the actual place name is not too uncommon. I mean, I know this isn't going to be in Budapest, because Budapest would have the Roman numerals on the sign. But hey, I mean, this is fine. We will go somewhere in this city instead. See where it actually is here, and it was actually nearby here in Hatvan, so not a bad effort there, and not bad. Okay, so that was 22,000, almost 23k there. Kind of dropped the ball a little bit on Botswana and Chile, but let's check out how you guys did, and hopefully provide some insights here. But we're going to have to go down a fair way here because we're not even in the top 25 here, and that is fair enough, to be honest, because this was a fairly easy seed. So let's go down to some people who maybe missed the country once or twice here, and hopefully that will pay off for Leon and Free Asbestos with the Shrek profile picture. Very good. Okay, let's check it out here. So the Albania, we had a problem here. Hedges for Italy here. So just remember the short plates. That's the big thing there. As for the Hungary, we had a miss in Poland. Yeah, so great thing to remember. Utsa for Hungary. Also the O with the umlaut, which I'm pretty sure would not at all be in Polish. So that would be a good way to tell it apart as well. Chile guesses. We had one in Argentina, interestingly, there. Now, I think the big thing there is the white car, whereas in Argentina you would have the black car instead. So in Generation 3, that's the best way to tell the two countries apart. And it was also a bit green for most places in Argentina. Like, Argentina is rarely hilly and green. It's normally hilly and green up here, but down here it wouldn't really be hilly and green too often at all, so that's quite useful. They both go in South Africa here. I think the big thing there is kind of that vibe with the bushes, but to be honest, where they clicked is not a terrible guess. I think just like the fact that we saw no population at all would be still quite unlikely out in these places. Like if I zoom in here, you can see like there's houses around the place, and look at these roads, very weirdly shaped. But yeah, I mean, like it just goes to show that like Botswana is much less populated, and yeah, there's basically nothing going on here. Even here, yeah, basically in a city. So yeah, just remember the other side of the border, much less likely to see anything going on. But they were both closer than me, so that's at least something. Yeah, I think that's about it for that seed. So let's head through to AI Generated World, my favorite GeoGuessr map, and see what we got going on. So we're expecting to see less clues on this occasion. Let's see what we got. So here we got some architecture guesser. Before I look at the Google car or anything, we appear to have maybe some Cyrillic here. Looks like it with the backwards N there. Unless it's an M, I think it's probably Cyrillic. And this was immediately giving me a Serbia vibe as well, with the cornfields, the fact that it's relatively flat. Also the fact that we have like some exposed brick here, which is really common in Croatia and Serbia. Yeah, so I'm thinking Serbia here is great. Not to mention that we have round poles, which, I mean, you could definitely rule out. You could rule out Hungary, basically. It'd be uncommon to see in Romania. And yeah, they're kind of different looking to the ones in Bulgaria, I feel, as well. Maybe not that much, actually. But okay, let's see if we have an antenna to see if I'm right. Yeah, we don't have an antenna here. So you'd always have an antenna in Bulgaria if it's Generation 3. Here we have Generation 3 in Serbia, which doesn't. So yeah, that's pretty much the simple way of working things out here. Thinking of just going like slightly north of Belgrade here as the best option. I mean, it is pretty flat, so let's just hedge it in Zabali? I don't know. Zabalj. And anything else to say here? Not really, I think. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, it's definitely Serbian vibes, but difficult to know if you didn't pick up on it. Serbia is a difficult country, but always remember there's a 100% chance at this stage that there is no antenna in Serbia, so pretty good for that reason. And okay, it was just near Belgrade there, so yeah, not a bad start to the seed. Let's head through to the next one here, see if we can get all 5 countries right. Next one here, definitely aided by poles, I would say. Like, landscape-wise, this is not easy. We have another one of these South American fences made up of wooden posts here. But if we look this direction, we do indeed have, like, a pole that definitely gets wider at the bottom, and it feels a bit square-like. But the fact that it gets wider at the bottom is immediately making me think of Brazil here. Reason being, the Brazilian poles always have those sections, and, yeah, we can vaguely make out the sections here, as well as that hook at the top, which you often have in Brazilian poles as well, but it can be seen all around the place. Okay, it doesn't feel like Omega tropical, but we do have palms. It feels like it could be maybe in like the Belém area to me, because it's slightly hilly. It doesn't feel like deep Amazon, but it feels like it's like Amazon adjacent. Oh, this is a lot of palms here, actually. But some of these palms definitely feel like Belém palms, which have a really thin trunk. You can see them elsewhere, but definitely feels good. If it's not Belém, then I would expect it's like somewhere in Accra. But Accra often has really thin poles, like thinner than this, like just like thin all the way up. So that's at least something. I think Belém here or Maranhão are really good. Also, like, take it for what it's worth. It's not really the most useful tip if you're new, but these kind of like palms that go out like that, those ones are kind of like this shape. That's quite common in like near Maranhão, Pará kind of area. So let's try that. And it was actually in Accra. That kind of makes sense to me, honestly. Difficult round to get though. To go all the way out here, right on the border with Amazonas. To be honest with you guys, it makes sense, and pretty much had to be one of the two. I still struggle with Amazon though, so yeah, it's not really a surprise that I missed it. We still got the country right, we're on 2 in a row. Let's check out this next one, which appears to be somewhere back in Brazil again. We have that typical Brazilian pole, where the black back of the sign, huge thing for Brazil, very uncommon in the rest of South America. Double yellow lines as well, more common in Brazil than some other South American countries. For example, wouldn't be Colombia. Well, it would be Colombia with the double yellows, but it wouldn't be Colombia with the black back of the sign. Well, you do have the cross, but it's black, so it can't be Colombia. Okay, so with big hills like this covered in like trees, I would say, with a lack of palm trees as well, like is that a palm? Maybe, but most trees here aren't palms, that's for sure, and we don't see any piranha pines either, so it can't be too far south, or it's unlikely to be. So what I'm thinking here is Espírito Santo or something like that. Rio de Janeiro also possible, Minas also possible, but these kind of rocky face with lots of trees, hills are common around here, and it was in Rio de Janeiro indeed, but this kind of area here should be best. Okay, so that was a good score there. Let's check out what's going on next. Interesting one here. So immediately I know the country. Let's take a look around. So we do indeed have some Cyrillic here, the C, P, and the J, the SP, J, and we also have the Russian flag. If you are astute, then you would have noticed that. We also have a big white number plate here. That's pretty much confirmation for Russia at that point. So this feels quite far north to me. We're on a very wide river, and when I see a very wide river to the east, I'm always thinking of Yakutsk, which has an extremely wide river like this. So that's what I'm kind of hinting towards here. Yakutsk has a fair amount of Generation 4 coverage as well, so that also makes me feel decent here. Now, it could be somewhere else just far north, and where's the other person gone? Like sneakily behind that guy there. Also the fact that we have like a barge here, or like some kind of ferry, makes sense. And like just truck, it feels very rural. Like these houses are really poor, so being out in the middle of nowhere is quite likely in my opinion. Now this could also be like Arkhangelsk, and we've already got a 50-50 wrong today, but I feel like Arkhangelsk is also possible. We have like a lot of really small trees, which makes me think it's like a very cold part of the world, and Yakutsk is one of the coldest parts in the entire globe. So yeah, I mean, it's like the coldest city of like more than 100,000 people in the whole world. So yeah, I feel like it's a good guess here. But we'll actually have to see about that. Also, we have like big like bars in the middle of the river here, so yeah, I feel like that also really fits. We see all these massive islands here as well, so yeah, I guess I might go like something like that. But yeah, Yakutsk here, feeling really good. Let's see if it's actually correct or not. And it was Yakutsk area, just a bit further south here. Probably could have actually seen that the river wasn't really north-south there, and this is kind of a better guess, even though there was no town there. But yeah, that makes sense. And actually, the coverage kind of goes up here, and it kind of follows around along these cities like that. So you can also get coverage out here, and then on the road all the way to Magadan. So that's also bears noting, or is worth noting, and we get decent score. Okay, if only we didn't screw up the Brazil, we would be on a really nice score by right now, but last one here, could we be back for a third time? We do have fairly red soil. We have this antenna, but this antenna is slightly different to the Latin American one. So we have like 1, 2, 3, 4 ridges on it instead of 2 or 1, which you'd normally see in Latin America. So this one is the antenna which you find in a few countries. It's found mostly in Cambodia. It's found rarely in New Zealand and rarely in Hawaii. And maybe sometimes in US, Canada as well in national parks, but this one here, you should definitely consider going in Cambodia, especially with this like heavy green, like red soil and green vegetation. Now, this honestly looks quite Brazilian. So without the Google car here, how do we get that this is going to be somewhere in Cambodia? Well, I feel like this hut is actually on stilts. We can kind of see there's stuff underneath this. Now that would be more common to see in Asia, like so many stilts houses or houses on some kind of platform in Thailand and Cambodia especially. So that's actually something we could have used here. Nevertheless, you can see such houses quite commonly in Accra or in the Amazon. So yeah, I mean, it's quite useful. but not all that useful here. But given the fact that we have no palms, like Amazon just spams palms everywhere, right? And we have no palms plus a stilts house, I feel like that would be a good clue for Cambodia. But it's easy for me to say after I already know where it is because of the antenna. So I guess that's take it for what it is. But this is a difficult round. So let's go in like northern half, which is more remote and more green, or like more like forested like this, I want to say. Let's go there. This feels decent to me. And it was kind of northern half there near the river. That makes sense for why it was kind of strange looking, a bit like sandy, a bit kind of less red soil than normal. We got a good score apart from that one Brazil. But yeah, it was a good seed, so let's check out. This is one where like relatively low information. Let me know if you enjoyed it, because we can bring it back for sure. But yeah, definitely an interesting one. 9th. Even with a terrible Brazil guess, we got 9th there, so goes to show how difficult the rounds were there. And let's go and check out how people did a little bit further down the order here. So let's click show more a few times, guys. Give the video a like if you're enjoying, and let's check it out. Okay, so then here we are. We got the Goo and Indie Falcon, who both got 10,000 points. So definitely a difficult seed here. If only at 100, if a number 100 people are only getting 10k points. Okay, let's check it out. So, as for this Brazil, we had the Colombia guess with the black back of the sign. Shouldn't do that next time, but understandable guess, definitely landscape-wise. Amazonas province or state is not very mountainous. You could see some hills around Manaus, but also, like, the whole Amazon is relatively lacking mountains apart from, like, Roraima. So, yeah, that's why this guess down here is much better. Then in the Accra, we had, where do people go here? We had a Bolivia guess and an Ecuador guess, actually both getting closer than me by significant margins. So the reason that was going to be in Brazil were the poles. So in Ecuador, you'd have round poles. You could see similar poles, they're quite rare. And in Bolivia, you would see round poles, or mostly in the Amazon, wooden poles, which those ones weren't. So yeah, that's why I'd go Brazil there, but definitely a skill issue because those two are both closer than me, which is pretty cool. As for the Serbia, yeah, both countries guessing where there would be an antenna in Generation 3, so Bulgaria and Russia would both have antenna. The only countries in Europe where you reliably don't have an antenna in Generation 3 are like Serbia, North Macedonia, and Norway, as well as like Turkey, so yeah. And then, like, I guess there are other examples as well, but plenty of other places don't have antenna sometimes, but those countries is where it's most likely, which is good knowledge to have. And then, of course, like Switzerland with low cam. But that is about it for the video, guys. Then the Russia one, they both did a good job in getting that it was like East Russia, but we had a huge river, so this is a better guess. Okay, guys, that's about it for the video. Thank you very much for watching all the way to the end. I will see you guys in a video very soon. Till next time, and goodbye.